So thank you for the opportunity to give a brief overview of the Global Yoga Therapy Day that was completed on August the 14th, and in some ways is still continuing, which I will explain in a moment. I also have to say that I'm very impressed with how this particular GCYT meeting has proceeded so far. I was I have to say, a little apprehensive that it might be quite unmanageable, and it's been very, very nice and tight, well facilitated, and so that's great credit to you, Danilo, and Mori-san, and others. It's been a quality meeting so far, so I'll try not to lower the standard. So first thing I'd like to do is just give you a brief overview of the Global Yoga Therapy Day. And I forgot to, I've got to go back here for a second, and one second here, I've just got to get into the slideshow mode. That's interesting. So I can't share the screen while it's in that mode by the looks of it. So that's all right. I'll just come and share it.
Yeah. You go before
in the normal mode. You have to share it in normal mode. Okay, that's okay. Then, so you can all see that, I'm hoping.
Now you enter presentation mode.
Now I can. There we are. Thank you. That's great. So the Global Yoga Therapy Day this year had the theme of Beyond the Studio. This is a theme that was discussed between the operational organisers, being Anne-Marie Johnson, myself, and Gabrielle Boswell, based in Australia, and Rob Swear, the CEO of the Give Back Yoga Foundation, based in the United States. We decided the idea of Beyond the Studio, that we want people to understand that yoga therapy really is something that is every day. It's something that people take with them wherever they go, basically. It's not something we want to decouple the idea that you go to a yoga studio and that's where you find yoga therapy. You may, but we don't want people just to think that. Anyway, the day, in fact, there was 2 days. We had the Community Outreach Day on August the 10th, and then our Global Yoga Therapy Day itself with a virtual online summit on August the 14th. And we were thrilled. At the outreach, we had 1,050 yoga teachers and yoga therapists participate in the day by providing short 2 or 3 minute presentations on Instagram, Facebook, etc., on what yoga therapy is, how they take it beyond the studio, little snippets on how yoga therapy has transformed their lives and perhaps some lives of others, or a longer presentation on some of the work they're doing, and also hosting a yoga therapy session, or an online session basically, for people who may not normally have access to understanding yoga therapy. So we were thrilled to have 1,050 professionals taking part in that. On August the 14th, we had 49 presenters and panelists. We had 75 people who applied to present. We just couldn't fit them all in. We originally were going to have about 32, but we managed to squeeze in 49 by rejigging things. And unfortunately, a few more couldn't be included. All the applications were high quality, but we do have some recordings of some of those that didn't get in, and those will be made available at some later stage. So 35 presentations went over a 24-hour period. So this was 24 hours non-stop yoga therapy presentations around the world across various health-related areas, and particularly an emphasis on things to do with COVID stresses, physical and psychological at this current time. On the day, we had 2,278 people were online on watching this beautiful summit on the Hey Summit platform, which was also live streamed most of the time back onto Facebook as well. as of, I think it was 3 days old, this particular presentation, there were 9,700 review replays of the recordings. So we recorded every session with the permission of the presenters. And so far we've had nearly 10,000, probably more than that today. And those recordings are available until the middle of November. So people, that was a free access to those recordings if they joined the summit, which was free. If they wanted to have, that was until the end of August. If they wanted to have access to an extra 3 months of the replays, there was a small fee of $25 US, which went to the Give Back Yoga Foundation. Every single dollar that came in as a result of this conference went to the Give Back Yoga Foundation, which is a philanthropic organization based in the United States, which provides yoga therapy opportunities for unserved and underserved populations. We did a lot of advertising and promotion on Facebook. These figures are astounding. 371,000 impressions and nearly 150,000 total reach. That's people who have been reached and engaged in relation to the Global Yoga Therapy Day. Now that number meant a lot of people were exposed to this term yoga therapy, what it meant, links back to the presentations and to the Global Yoga Therapy Day website. And equally as important, our wonderful sponsors, and we thank them all, that's the exposure that they were getting for their contribution to the event. The contribution was mostly in money and some in kind, and the money helped pay for the platform, the Hay Summit platform, which cost several $1,000s, and of course the several $1,000s of the Facebook advertising. The small amount of surplus at the end of it is now being held in trust by the Give Back Yoga Foundation as a seed funding for, oops, I beg your pardon, seed funding for this wonderful occasion, which we'll ask you to all diarise, which is August the 14th, 2021, where our Global Yoga Therapy Day will once again be held. We'll have more information about that probably towards mid to end November. We'll have an idea as to the shape and nature of that. Now, one of the other wonderful advantages of the day and the sponsors were able to, and I'm going to share the screen once again, all their membership, all their members were able to voluntarily become listed in this Find a Yoga Therapy Specialist site, which is so easy to find people. Here we are. They can do a search by, a key in search in a field, or simply go to their area and have a look and say, well, wow, can we find a yoga therapist? And so this is really exciting, because if we, just as a matter of example, if we zoom in here and we zoom in to the Netherlands, well, who do we find here? But our very own Anneke Sips. So this is a wonderful opportunity. And so Global Yoga Therapy Day is not just the day, it continues on by having this listing of yoga therapists worldwide available every day, 24/7, and the website stays live, and for a period of time those sponsors will continue to be promoted on the website. Now, what I'd like to say is that we were really pleased with the global participants on the day. Probably, and I'm possibly going to rustle for some feathers, and I do apologise, but it does need to be stated. We were a little disappointed that there wasn't a more active involvement more formally through the Global Consortium on Yoga Therapy. We did send emails directly on many, many occasions, but the decision was made or not made to not get involved. We do hope that the Global Consortium on Yoga Therapy will have a more active involvement in next year's event. And I have the vision that it could well be that there could be a coupling of Global Yoga Therapy Day and the Global Consortium, so that this event becomes, if you like, an outreach, a summit that the Global Consortium can be part of every year to further its great mission. So that's all I need to say about the day. If there are questions, then absolutely I can address those. I don't want to take in any more of Annika's time, but if there are questions, perhaps they could be put into the chat box. I will look at that occasionally. And then if there is time towards the end of this session or perhaps another time, I can address those questions as they arise. So thank you very much for allowing me to give you the overview of that wonderful occasion that I hope will continue for a long time to come. And it's over to Annika. Thank you, Annika.
Yes, I'm unmuting myself. So happy to see you all. I was just checking who is all here, and let me see if I can see all the participants on the right side. And maybe it's nice if we can all check our names, and if our names are clearly written on the right side, and otherwise maybe you can change it so that other participants can also see who are here, because that's what I would like to talk about with you, about human connection and the importance of human connection again here online. Well, of course, it's much better to see each other in person, but it's a very nice opportunity to have to see each other online in these times when we cannot meet in person. But today I will remind you a little bit like how it was to be in person, so that we're not forgetting this, and hopefully we can we can do that again in the future. I'm going to share my screen, and then you see a little presentation that I created. So yeah, like I said, this is kind of a follow-up on the Global Consortium on Yoga Therapy, and we were meeting. Well, I remember the first time when we met, we were in Reston in California. We had a breakfast meeting, and we were just a little group of people with some good ideas, having a breakfast together during another like the AOIT conference. And this is how it goes. And I think it's very important to always remember these stories, how it started, and how what kind of impact we can have as individuals if we are really clear about our own mission and what we think is important, and then gather together and see what can follow up through that. So my name is Anneke. I will introduce myself just quickly. I'm a RN, registered nurse from the Netherlands. Also a YACAP, that's the Yoga Alliance thing. It means that I am teaching yoga to other individuals, and as a CAYT, so certified yoga therapist by the International Association of Yoga Therapists. I was trained by Ganesh Mohan and family. And yeah, so I created Network Yoga Therapy, and with Network Yoga Therapy in the Netherlands, which is an international organization, we also do the conference. So last year in 2019, we did the 4th international conference on yoga, health, and science. We bring together a big group, a diverse group of very interesting people, and see where we can find each other, where we can meet each other, where's our common ground. And last year's theme was human connection. So I want to bring in that theme a little bit here, because like I said, since we are not personal connected, like physical connected right now, I think it's very good to remember these things, and to see if we can invoke those feelings again. So Lee, that was a little slide for Lee. You already were there. Thank you for sharing another inspirational online event that you did. And back to the human connection and the value of human connection in our personal and professional lives. And is this fun, or is this important, or is this essential? And this is just a little reflection moment for all of us. like think about it, like how much do we value our human connection in our lives, and what does it bring us, and how can we co-create in a fun way, or how is this important in our personal lives but also in our businesses, and how is this essential maybe for our business or our practice of yoga therapy. And especially in the business of yoga, I think it's very good to keep asking yourself these questions. And then I'm gonna guide you a little bit on a tour. For the people who are there, it's maybe nice to see also, if you observe this first picture in Sendai. I think everybody who is in the picture, if you are also in this video, yeah, I see that Lee already puts his thumb up. You can feel free to put your thumb up or make a little clap if you agree that this is magic. Like, I don't know if you can find yourself and just check who's sitting next to you, and really just think back, like what was going on there, what was happening, what is the magic that's happening when you are connecting with people. It's not just the information that is shared, but there's like a connection. And of course, in yoga and yoga therapy, we talk about connection, and what is that, and from where are you connected, and how are these connections going over the years. Well, it means there is some emotion and feeling involved, and I think pictures like this are triggering that, but also action. I think like the action is also here in the organization of this global consortium, which is all based on volunteers, and we are creating this group, and I think it's something to be very proud of, and I think it's very good to realize that as well. Going to the next meeting, which was Amsterdam. This was last year. So again, maybe you can look, if you see yourself, there's a few new faces here, and maybe some old faces who were in Japan as well. And in this meeting, this was the day after the conference in Amsterdam, so the 4th edition, the Science of Human Connection. The day after, we had our consortium meeting, and what we are doing here is actually the follow-up of that. But since we couldn't meet in person, we're doing it online. So, and let's see if we can stitch it a little bit together. So we were in Sendai, we had a declaration we came up with. If you go to the website of the Global Consortium, then you can find the declaration. And we were really very seriously contemplating a lot of ideas. We were from so many different, and still we are from so many different countries, cultures, ideas, backgrounds, different fields in yoga or professions. And in this very diverse group, we were able to find some common ground. And this is very special, I think, and it's very good to realize this, especially I think living now in a world that is, there's a lot of how do you call it, division going on, I feel, and that kind of stuff in between humans. But we proved that it's possible through so many different cultures and communities, we can find the common ground. And again, remember, what is that common ground? So what is the essential part of what we're doing here? So in this meeting in Amsterdam, we were talking about it. We made little groups, and I will guide you through what we discussed there. Already, also with the great help of Irina, she's also here in the group. She is working for Network Yoga Therapy with me, and we were putting it online on the website of our website. But here in this meeting, I would like to bring us back a little bit to what was pointing out, what did we do here during those meetings, and from there we can have some follow-up discussion. So today you're all invited to discuss with each other in little breakup rooms that we're going to do later, to see how we can weave into all the work that has been done and create new opportunities, possibilities in a new templates that we're dealing with today in the world. So just to feed our oxytocin level a little bit, a few nice pictures. So we were sitting here in the park having lunch all together, and it's just very nice, I think, to remind ourselves how nice it is to meet each other in person. This is the little European group. So also we were having one dinner with just the people who live in Europe, and Israel was part of this group as well. And we have Benedetta from she's Italian, lives in Brussels. We have Tine from Denmark, Irina from the Netherlands. There are so many people. There is, of course, Lisa. It's so beautiful to see all these faces again. And also we have fun. So is it essential, or is it useful? Is it important? But it's also fun to meet up and get together. So if we talk about the common ground, then also the AOIT, of course, and other organizations did a lot of work there that we are weaving in this organization. So one of the common grounds is that yoga therapy has something to do with reducing suffering and promoting well-being. Well, of course, these are big words with a lot of meaning. Reducing suffering, this is something we could talk about already for many hours, and promote well-being. Well, what is well-being, and how can we promote well-being in different circumstances? So what is the common ground, and how can we keep coming back to what is our common ground, our safe place, and move on from there? So this was another pictures. I'm sharing a few pictures of what we discussed, and also I will go a little bit deeper into the content of these pictures. So there was this one group, health is a dynamic process. We were talking about Lana, the girl on the left with a dotted shirt. She's from New York. She was reflecting on it using the Montessori model. And honestly, I found it really a little bit difficult to bring back what she was exactly meaning, because with my information and my videos that I had, I couldn't really bring it back up. But it is, if somebody still remembers, just feel free to use the chat box and help me there. Or if you do see something there, if you see some interesting points, if you or overlap in the Montessori model and the yoga therapy, how this could influence our yoga therapy. So it's about facilitating and optimizing rather than fighting the sickness, and empowering health through knowledge. Then going to the next one, and this was Lisa here. She was speaking about the little framework that they were creating. It was shaped, like designed like a house with pillars. So that's already pretty nice, I think. The foundation was a personal practice, and I will let you listen to Lisa so that you can hear what she is saying about it herself. And if there's any problem with the sound or anything like this, just immediately, like for example, Lee, because I see you in your screen, just do like this, and I know that I need to stop and try it again, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna press the play button and listen to, so if you want, you can turn your volume up, listen how Lisa is explaining this holistic assessment there.
So it was a great contribution of a collective effort. We said the foundation of everything is personal practice. Our house needed a base. And then we have 4 pillars. Holistic assessment. Holistic assessment includes the body, the physiology, the mental, emotional, and others as well, but at least this conceptual layer of holistic assessment to define what holistic is. The second one was knowledge of the human condition through yoga philosophy, principles, and practice. So we played around with this idea of yoga perspective, of knowledge, of understanding, and that's really the second supporting pillar. And so we looked at yoga text, yoga conceptual models, yoga practices. And then we said biopsychosocial medical. We had a lot of discussion on this one. Yeah. Because we didn't want to divide, I didn't want to divide the mind and the body, but we also didn't want medical to get buried in the second layer. So, yeah, strong advocates over here. So she knew who he was. Biopsychosocial medical was our third pillar. And that includes like A&P and physiology, mind and emotions, interpersonal environment, medical conditions, all of that. And then our last pillar is the therapeutic relationship, which is the environment in which it occurs and which differentiates it from yoga teaching. And then our yoga therapy roof, because what we're trying to do overall is fulfill the promise of the sutras, reduce suffering, and increase well-being. Love
it. That's nice, huh? It's so nice. Was this clear? This was a very short video. If you say like, I would like to hear it again, that's possible. We can also just share the slides and you can listen again to it if you want. So this is how this group was diving into the subject and creating this really beautiful little house framework there. So then, let me see, there is a question here in the chat box. Yeah, this is what I remembered from Amsterdam. Arjong is saying, nice house, yeah. But do you see, it's funny as it sounds, like I think it's also important how you design things or how you show it or what, you know, it's something that the mind likes to see and it remembers it. So it could be also interesting, maybe in a more simplified version, to use something like this to explain it. If you do, like if you go into hospitals or you work with clients, like if you want to explain what is yoga therapy, it's very nice to just use a little framework, grab a pen and paper or a whiteboard and draw it. It's very nice for people. And it's remembered, right? Or yeah. Personal practice as a foundation. Michael Lee is saying that. I know Michael Lee likes that, and I like that too. And I think it's very, very true. Yeah. And Lee is saying, yes, that house was the result of a lot of strong discussion in our group. Oh, you were part of it initially over the delicious lunch, the power of connection and working together. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, very solid house. Yeah, we all have solid houses, but we need to be able to find a way to communicate this to other people and find a way in communication that fits you and work together with other people. Because this is group work, what you see. And it's just something that came up after some discussion with people who were not like seeing each other every day. So a lot is possible if you're getting together, connect with others and brainstorm a little bit. So one more chat. I remember the parallels we were drawing. So what I understood as my model of health. Yeah. Nice. Thank you. That's great. It's really great that you're adding a link there. So everybody can check out that link maybe after this presentation. And feel free, if you have anything to say about this, just share it in the chat box. This way it becomes this interactive space where we can share our knowledge and experiences together. So then we're going to the next one. Because, whoops, the next one. I don't know if you remember this one. Here you see Penny and Heather. They're working on it. And then later, Heather and Melissa, they were presenting this to the group. So you see on the left is their whiteboard thingy that we placed on the wall. So we were not writing on the wall. That was a special layer on the wall where we could write on. And on the next one, I made a little bit of a list. And I will bring back your memory. I'm going to use this one because I think there was a lot of wisdom also in this one. And I didn't have such a nice and crispy video of it. So I'm going to explain it to you what they were discussing. So the first point, share knowledge and expertise. Heather and Melissa, they were talking about it. They meant like we did in that conference that we were just invited to, the yoga therapy conference from Network Yoga Therapy about the science of yoga and how we bring different experts together to share the knowledge and the expertise. So not only the knowledge, but also the stories of other people, the expertise. So the second one is a yoga-informed individual assessment. So similar to the other fields, like in other fields of care, informed individual assessments. And this is based actually on the scope of practice And yoga is assesses through these windows of yoga. So individualized intervention is based on that scope that is created. So that's already a subject that we can, well, that we can discuss a little bit more about, like what is this, how does this integrate and all that. So the third one, empowering through dialogue. And feel free to add something in the dialogue in the chat box if you want. So this is the client where the client is an active participant, and I want to add that this is an equal relationship. So it's instead of a linear relationship, more holistic also in this way, like an equal relationship. And this is something that I find very important. But of course, our ideas can be different on how we are working with this relationship. But this is very interesting, I think, to have a discussion about, and what are the reasons why you feel in a certain way. Maybe it's more classical or traditional, like the doctor knows, or the yoga therapist knows, or I think it's more, at least here in the Netherlands in these days, I see this in my work field in social psychiatry, very much important to see the client as the expert. So really be next to the person and observe the active role of the client in even making a treatment plan. Like, I think empowerment is very important also for healing. So then number 4, psychosocial and spiritual model. I remember there, especially Melissa, she was very fond of the idea to add the spiritual in there. And I think we can all understand why this is. So this is another aspect of yoga therapy and how we can look at it. So the next one, number 5, is reinforce health behaviors. So what is the health behavior that's already there? And it goes together with the next one, motivational interviewing. Because if we're looking what is already existing, and actually it also goes together with empowering the client. Look what's already there, what health behavior is already there. In other words, what's going right and what is healthy already. See if we can reinforce that and complement that. So identify what people are also most likely to shift. And then we're going into more motivational interviewing. There's a lot to learn about it if you don't know much about it on the internet. If you Google it, motivational interviewing. But it's really seeking, it's about change, and it's seeking in other people the language and the behavior that has to do with change. And a lot of people already show that behavior. And if you learn how to pick that up and really focus on this, so where is a person most able to change, and where is a person most wanting to change, is a very great starting point. And again, back to the relationship, the therapeutic relationship. Is it you who are creating an intervention, or are you doing it together? So is it what you think is important that need to be changed, or is it coming from the client itself, who is who start to realize where things can change? So identify where people are in their journey and where they are most likely to shift, and see if you can support that. I think that's a very important point in yoga therapy. Then individual assessment is double there. Therapeutic relationship we just had. Number 7 is the embodied ethos. So in let me see, where did I put it? Oh yeah, well, of course, yoga therapy embodies the ethos of yoga. We didn't discuss about it too much, but if you want, you can choose this topic for your group when we go on later. One more back about this assessment. groups or individually, as long as anybody is individually assessed. So if you want to work with individuals or you want to work with groups, it both is possible, of course. But the idea was everybody is at least individually assessed, even if you were working with a group. And another thing that came with the therapeutic relationship that I forgot to mention is also the therapeutic sensitivity. So therapeutic sensitivity, and this shows in language, in touch, in all these kind of things, and maybe energetic connections or anything like this. So the therapeutic sensitivity. Then there was a word that maybe not everybody understands it. Salutogenic, for me it's a little hard to pronounce. Salutogenic. So this means actually just focusing on wellness. So this is a very interesting concept. You can also Google that word if you want. You find a lot of background information and research about it. And I think this is important in the promotion of health. So if we are talking about yoga therapy, maybe with other healthcare providers, institutes or whatever, how can you promote wellness, and how can you focus on that wellness and the promotion? How is the health promotion going in your country, and how can you add to that from this yogic perspective? So then they were talking in their list about NCDs. So this means it's a disease that is not transmissible directly from one person, transmittable from one person to the other. Then there are referrals. So that was also a subject they talked about, which is part of the scope of practice. That we can also refer clients to others if something is not in our scope of practice as a yoga therapist. So we don't have to be able to do everything in order to work holistically. We can work with a team. So it's about referring to others, but also about being able to work together in integrative health teams. And I think in health promotion, this is also a very interesting subject. Like, how can we promote this, that yoga therapists can have a integrated part in these health teams? So for me, this is something I do since years already. And here in the Netherlands, I have opportunity to do so, to be part of a health team. So I'm working in a multidisciplinary team, and my role is there being a yoga therapist. So we have a psychiatrist, psychologists, and also yoga therapists working in one team. It works really nicely. Oh yeah, Arjong is saying in the chat box, I can't figure out the meaning of difficult words. Salutogenic. Salutogenic. I saw that word in several presentations. Is there anyone who let me know more references? So if anybody can pronounce it better than me, or has more feeling with that word, maybe you're using it in your vocabulary more often, or in your health promotion, maybe in your work with clients, with other people in your teams, in your studies or training, feel free to share something in the chat box. And later also you can discuss this a little bit. Yeah, Michael Lee is saying Melissa knows a lot about it. Yeah, so I think it's good to ask Melissa, or maybe other people in the little chat that we're going to have soon together. So back to the list. Self-care, also here, the other group made self-care very important, and also here in this group, self-care was very important part. And I think we can all agree on that. And I think we all know, and it's a very popular term to use, self-care. It's very important. First of all, what is self-care? That's a good question. Is it taking a bath with a nice cup of tea? Or is self-care more deeper? Is it really working on your personal development, your daily practices, whatever that means for you, working on your own purpose and goals in your personal life, in your professional life? And is that self-care as well? So like working on your boundaries, saying no to things that are not feeling good, and etc. So what is self-care for you? And we know that especially in the in like caregiving communities, we all say it, and I'm a nurse since 22 years already. I'm working in psychiatry, and we all say it. We need to take very good care of ourselves. First, the oxygen mask on ourselves, etc. But it still is proven that it's not always working out so well. So there's an invitation here, and maybe the challenge for you to really be different there. Like, we are caregivers that do take really good care of ourselves, because this is also the promotion of yoga. I think like this is where yoga really starts. And I think by being an example of a person who is taking really good, compassionate care of themselves, I think this is a yoga therapy promotion in itself. So that was the list. There's a lot to a lot to say about it, I think. Lee is adding some information in the chat box. That's good. Something to read, more deeper information. And yeah. So going now from here, I created, this beautiful Arjun there on the picture. She's like, hey, I see myself there. There are some groups, and I just came up with themes that are related to this. If you want, you can discuss, but of course take the freedom to discuss something else, that if you have burning questions or you find it very important to discuss a certain theme. The last one is here also a topic open of your choice. I didn't know how many people would show up here, so right now I made 8 groups, but let's see, I'm not sure how many people are actively here right now.
25,
but actively. I some people, I see pictures and maybe they went to have lunch, or I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're actively here to discuss. Well, let's keep the topics a little bit open, because I made many groups and many topics, but I think these are just inspirations. If you and your group need some inspiration, just pick one of those. But if you like, just really see if you can, with your group, gather together and see if you can talk about human connection and how to promote yoga therapy, and how we bring everything that we hear now, how we can bring this into the future, to the next step. So we're not sure when or where is the next step, but we will create the next step. So what is needed? What is bridging? What are you gonna do in the short future? What are topics that are triggering you want to talk about with your group mates here? So let's see. I'm gonna stop the share now, because then it's a little bit easier to see the groups. 25. So I guess like making a little bit small groups of 4, 3, 4. What's the time? We're in 45 minutes. Yeah. Well, let's say we're gonna discuss around 20-30 minutes together, and if I will just hop around from room to room, and if we feel like it's too much or we're kind of done, and if I get that impression, we will just stop a little bit earlier. And then every group is invited to have one person who brings out the clue of the group. So later we get together, and then this one person is like the spokesperson of the group, is sharing with the rest like what you came up with as a group. Is that okay? So I'm just gonna let the, oh, I think I need to be a host. Or can you, Danilo, or otherwise maybe you can divide them in groups, or?
You're the host now.
Yeah, thank you. Now I can do the breakout room. Thank you. Yeah, I'll make 5 rooms. I'm not sure if everybody who I see now is physically there, but we'll just see. If there's a group with only 1 or 2, I will just fix it later. I'll bring you in another group. Yeah, thank you for turning on your camera, then I can really see it a little bit better. Yeah, who's where. So I'm going to create a breakup room. So you're going to be in a room with somebody else. And I think it's just a good idea to just quickly introduce yourself, like who are you, why are you here, where are you from, something like this, and then see if you can find a theme together, something that fits the discussion here, what we've been talking about, and see what you can, how you can bring in your expertise, your knowledge, the topics that you want to discuss, and maybe at the end you also can raise a new question. It's always nice, I think, to go into the future with some new questions and new ideas where we can build on to. Yeah, everybody ready? Because now if I press the button, some magic will happen. We all go.
Anneke,
yeah.
Can you just remember us by showing the 2 slides of the topics you've selected?
Sure.
It could be helpful.
Yeah. I'll share the screen and just leave it on. Yes. So there is one is human connection, therapeutic relationship. You can talk about that. Holistic assignments, yoga research. Maybe you're very into that. Self-care, study and practice. The future of yoga therapy. The business of yoga therapy, or an open topic. So I will put this one on, and then the future and the business of yoga therapy is also part of it. Okay, see you in a little bit. I will hop into the rooms, then don't worry too much about me. I will just come in and out sometimes.
Wow. Yeah. The others must be so deeply engaged. I know, it looks everyone's back by the looks of it, are they? 29 people back.
It's so nice to see everybody. It seems like everybody's back. I'm going to unmute, I'm going to mute everybody for a moment. If I can, no, I don't know. I don't see the button right now. It's okay. So welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all. There's a lot of people now, a little bit more. People were dropping in halfway. And some people, I know, I hear that Lisa has to go. And I think the people who know me, you know that I like to make pictures and selfies. So here we go. Let's make a selfie of this group. Since Lisa is still here now and other people who maybe need to leave a little bit earlier. So there's 2 screens here. So first one, oh wait, I'm going to close my chat so that it's more clear. So first group is the group, just everybody wave and I make a screenshot. Wave everybody, hello, you're on the camera. And now I'm going to the second one. So again, just please everybody wave from Japan to America. Yeah, and our Young is putting her little yellow thing up. Oh, we're so nice. It's so nice to pop in all these different rooms where people from Australia to Japan to Brazil to the Netherlands. It's very special. Let's hear a few of the voices from the groups. So who wants to start? What group wants to start? Just present it very shortly, because otherwise people will need to go.
Sure.
So
okay, well, I'm happy to jump in.
What was going on in your group?
Sure. Okay, we looked at the topic of human connection and therapeutic relationship in the virtual environment, in the virtual world of yoga therapy. How do we do that? And we came up with lots of nice ideas. Everyone was really engaged. There was, firstly, we had the idea of the polyvagal theory, where if we activate the ventral vagal complex, with self-hugging and chanting Om and rocking, various exercises we can do. When we're about to engage online, we're more open, we're more receptive to the people, and we can get a better connection, even though it's through a screen. And I've been practicing that. It actually works quite well. And the beautiful idea is, Ariane, working with people with some intellectual disabilities, that the importance of using their name regularly to help engage them and be interactive, and keeping it light. And so pranayama, using people blowing bubbles as pranayama, and the whole thing, it becomes fun and a light, engaging environment. Jackie was talking about the use of dance with the seniors to do some postures and let that morph into dance, so that they're building a relationship. Even if they've got a limited number of people where they are, or even a relationship with themselves that they can then share with others by being light and at home with themselves. Dilip was talking about how his sessions online, he said he can do anything normally because he's at home with himself. Just the comfort in his own skin invites others to be really comfortable with themselves. And Danilo was talking about some words of the Dalai Lama, that part of the connection globally is so important. We can connect with ourselves locally, but we've got this opportunity to connect globally. One nation of 7 billion people. And another part of this is that when we're on an online environment, we're in people's homes. Their cats and their dogs and their kids dribbling, and everything's, it's all there. We're in the real coalface of people's authentic lives as humans. And so it's offering us these extra opportunities for real human connection, even when we can't be face-to-face. Eventually, of course, face-to-face, we want it, but for some time we're not going to be able to. So we capitalize on the online environment to optimize our human connection to develop a better therapeutic relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Who is the next group? Maybe Michael's group, Michael, Irina, who were in there, or Anna's group, Anna and Nikki.
All right, I'll say a few things, and if anyone from the group wants to add, that's fine. We ended up talking about intuition and awareness from inside. Gerson was talking about some experiences with Dr. Bolle and the teachings, and the ones that Keishan referred to as well. And that led us into a fruitful discussion on the importance of engaging people in experience so that they can, in fact, engage self-knowledge and tap into self-knowledge and knowing of self, because it's not really so much what the practitioner knows, but it's also what the person discovers through the journey of yoga therapy, and that being a very important part. We also talked a little bit about online, working online, and also the need for connection, and that there are ways of creatively using Zoom as we are doing here, by leaning in rather than leaning back. That's just a simple little thing, but different ways of bringing presence, because people are really needing and everyone in the world right now is really missing this form of being really present to someone. But we can do a lot with facial expression, we can do a lot with gesturing, we can do a lot with tone of voice. There's just a whole lot of ways we can drop the formality, be a little more fun and lively, and all sorts of things that just make a difference to how we connect with our clients and our students and everything else online. And I think, well, we also had a very international group, which was great. We explored that, explored a little something about cultural differences in yoga therapy, which was pretty fascinating, and how some cultures are more open to connecting than others are in the online space. I think that was about it. Irene, Gerson, Lisa, if you want to, anyone else who was in that group want to add anything, happy.
Oh, beautiful. No, it's really interesting what happens if if you can find a connection, and like you said, it's different online than in person, but if you do find, and it's also nice to explore, and these moments you can also use to explore with each other. Like, it's so nice and super practical thing what you say. What if you lean back? Or, for example, if your video is off, and like Lisa, she said, yeah, but I'm eating. Yeah, but it's okay, you know, if there's a bowl of yogurt, we don't really care. But it's very interesting to, if it's a safe space, like hopefully it is with us as colleagues all together, we can practice a little bit what works and what not, and how you can integrate that also in your work that you're doing online right now. Thank you, Michael.
Lisa wanted to say something else to us.
I did. I thought I came into the group a little late. I was so happy to see people in it and to get to find my way into the group. And then I watched this trajectory we had from how do we keep connection in the online all the way into how do we get into the inner intuition, inner realm. So we did the entire journey. I thought this continuum was fascinating. And part of it was about assumptions we make that people may or may not be comfortable talking about these things or understanding these things, or what language we use when we're reaching out to people in yoga therapy and healthcare professions, where we make certain assumptions about what they may or may not be open to, or how do we bridge the language between that culture and the yoga culture, and really realizing that people are people and they can be really extremely receptive to it. And when they have an experience of it, that's the most powerful thing.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So what's the next group? Which groups do we still have? Anne-Marie's group with Karim, and Alexander was somewhere. Who is speaking?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak on behalf of our group.
Was in your group?
If that's all who are in it who'd like to chip in, we had rather deep philosophical expressions about where the future is taking us and how we culturally look at the whole concept of yoga therapy and how well-being might change in terms of which culture you're in. What does well-being actually mean to one culture, and does it mean the same thing to another? And Kei-Shin's concern was that perhaps well-being is more physically oriented in the West than it is in the East. I assured him that that wasn't the case, that the mental and the spiritual are as important as the physical in the whole of the yoga therapy tradition. But in all of our traditions, we look at going from the gross to the subtle. And the question is whether we can transcend the national cultures, the physical geographic cultures that exist through yoga therapy. And I think it's certainly my belief that we can, but we also need to be respectful in our understanding and not make assumptions and listen much more carefully, because we do have different meanings of language and different meanings of what well-being looks like. And I think we also talked about the standards. Can you use a set of standards to represent different cultures? And the importance that the standards aren't set in cement in terms of particularly the kind of outcomes that we're looking for. That well-being needs to be fluid, it needs to be culturally appropriate, it needs to suit the individual, and therefore the standards are about a methodology that suits the individual, the context and the intention, but that the outcomes are that alchemy of the individual and the therapist arriving at a point where the client feels that they've reached that point of well-being, rather than setting any framework as to what that well-being should look like.
Beautiful, beautiful, thank you.
And please, Kei-Shin, you might like to add something, Anne-Marie, Masayo.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Great. I think there's the group of Danilo and the group of Anna still.
I was in Lee's group.
Oh yeah, that's correct. Correct. Then who else? What
group
group?
number 4.
Oh yeah, yes, yes.
So we are group number 4. We had Nikki from the Netherlands and Prem Prakash and Manoj from Singapore, and Alexander joined us from Germany just towards the end, and I'm Leanne from Australia. Our group was having some reflection on what we do for self-care and for study and practice as a yoga therapist for our self-development. So I'll pretty much just run through the points as they came up. We did spend some time at the beginning. The first thing that came up was the importance of rest. So, you know, a bit of reflection on sometimes the thing that we need to do is to not do, you know, to stop doing, or maybe to stop seeking, and you know, that interest in culturally often rejuvenation, restoration, and rest aren't the most popular things for people to appreciate sometimes. There's the sense that even when we need restoration, it's like, what are we doing to get that restoration? You know, what activities are we engaging in to rest to get better? You know, what are we seeking? Who are we seeing? What are we taking? So we sort of, that was the first thing we looked at, the importance of for ourselves and in our work for promoting rest and rejuvenation as a valuable thing, and not a doing nothing kind of thing, or that doing nothing is doing something. Then I think regularity came up very strongly in the group. Having routine, so our daily routines that keep us in balance, I guess. Certainly adequate sleep and eating regularly, and the regularity of our yoga practice. And most of us agreed that we could notice at times if we lost our regularity in our sleep, food practice. It may take some days where we were out of step until we got that going again. So doing that. It came up that teaching itself is self-care, and having Prem Prakash was talking about having a discipline of teaching 3 classes a week, which he considered part of his own self-care, that it kept up his discipline for practice, and we could all appreciate that too. And I think also it creates, you know, being teachers or having clients keeps that responsibility to ourselves having a responsibility to others helps us to keep up the discipline to ourselves of our own self-care. We were talking about when we're doing the yoga, that it provides an opportunity for self-diagnosis. So our practice itself is a self-reflection, it's a self-diagnosis, it's a chance where we get to listen to our bodies and our minds and get feedback from ourselves, which we said was particularly important for early detection then of any imbalance. The regularity of our practice shows up things quite easily before we get too far down the track into some difficulty. And one of the antidotes we were talking about then too was to rest, and a discussion around rest being of 3 days, or you know, taking a minimum of 24 hours to 72 hours to accomplish deep rest was important. We came up, I guess, in a way with things that would go under the idea of human connection again, how enjoying discussions in forums and hearing other people's view is nourishing to us, calling colleagues and friends to discuss matters and common interests, particularly around our work or yoga, and that that a good portion of that interaction should involve laughing and being happy, and some really great advice about in each day to put priority in the succession of small decisions being aligned to health and happiness. So the many small decisions that we have in a day, and to think, you know, are they taking us towards our path in yoga? Are they taking us towards health and happiness? And, you know, we have that potentiality to be making those small choices really moment to moment. We talked about how COVID and, you know, the current pandemic has actually provided us with perhaps a little bit more time for reflection than we might have taken otherwise, and how that's been a good thing for us. We talked about keeping moving, keeping grounded, keeping uplifted in our body, in both its posture and our attitude. And for me, it was about being nerdy. I really love studying the concepts of yoga, and keeps you know aligning myself to teachings and to mantras, and you know, keep reflecting and reminding myself about those sort of conceptual aspects of yoga. And then you know, we talked about whatever we place our mind to then gets reflected back to us in our lives and in our students and our clients and things. So I think that's an overview. And again, if anyone else from group number 4 would like to add anything, if I've missed anything.
Well, it sounded pretty complete.
That was a lot.
So who was the last group? There was one more group.
Hi, I think it was our group, Annika. Hi.
Yes, that was your group, Anna. That's true, yes.
Hi, so hello everybody. I'm Anna from Lisbon, from Portugal. Hello everybody. And in our group, group 5, we had Felicity from New Zealand. We had Yukiko from Japan. She's there, I can see her. And we had Sue from the United States. And basically, we started our discussion realizing, first of all, that we had, you know, all the people in our group were people from different countries, different continents, different cultural backgrounds, and that spoke different languages. And then we started talking about the possibility for connection, for human connection, to different cultures and different people that speak different languages. How do we develop a therapeutic relationship with clients, for instance, yoga therapy clients, when we are from completely different backgrounds, you know, when we speak completely different languages? In my country, here in Portugal, at the moment, we are welcoming a lot of refugees from Northern Africa, for instance, from the Middle East as well. And there's a lot of people arriving here that don't speak Portuguese at all. They barely speak English. They have completely different cultural rituals and habits. And these are people that are in need of a lot of things, to be heard, to participate, to feel integrated in our community here in Portugal. And perhaps we can bring our yoga offerings to these new communities developing here. So how do we go beyond language? How do we go beyond our own culture in order to develop that human connection? So we started talking about that. And we discussed forms to connect to those other cultures and languages. So basically we need to find different tools for connection when we don't speak the same language again. So it's communication beyond words. How do we get there? How do we communicate beyond words? And we're just really throwing different ideas from all these different countries into these pots. We didn't find a protocol. We have to go beyond protocol, perhaps. They were just ideas. And so values of being hospitable towards our students and clients, the value of simplicity when you hold a yoga class or a therapy session, the value of listening. Even if you don't understand completely what the other person is saying verbally, maybe just by paying real attention, really listening to the way they communicate through their gaze, their eyes, the way they move their bodies, the value of that body language, listening and paying attention is so important to develop that human connection. The other thing I think Felicity mentioned is the fact that it takes courage for someone from a different culture. They might feel, I don't speak this language, how am I going to communicate with these people? It takes a lot of courage for someone that doesn't speak the language to actually come to a therapy session or even attend a yoga class, you know. So it's important for us as facilitators, as teachers, to meet that courage that the student have, you know, to acknowledge that we see them, that they're there. So basically, we're just throwing in ideas on how to connect, how to engage with other communities and, you know, go beyond the word. And we found out that really this is beyond word. This is the sharing of yoga, how to work with ethics, and really make other people feel like they're welcome and they are part of it. They are part of all culture. We're all one culture. Yeah. So I don't know if someone from the group, Felicity, you had so many great ideas. I tried to write some things down, but there was so much. Or if someone else wants to share from the group, that'll be great. Sue, Yukiko.
Yeah. So that we're just, what we were trying to drill into was the space between language and the therapeutic relationship. So we were taking apart the expectations that we ourselves had as in that role to have a look at what isn't there and see if some of those things could become more focused. So the courage of the client has the capacity to transform the relationship if it is accepted as one of the elements of that relationship. Another one that we had was the providing the space to speak, so that even whatever that person says in their language is their mind coming into their own sense of organization. So not that it doesn't matter what they're saying, but it does matter. It becomes the matter of the intention of the therapeutic relationship. The other one, which Sue probably be more better than me, but I was thinking Sue came in a little later, and also Yukiko said she was shy. And I was thinking the value possibly of having a third person to sit with, who then is, Sue used the word contemplative, but that there is a person who can hear and somehow support piecing together the communication. I was thinking more of the process, piece together the process rather than the therapy, say. Yeah, those are my little offerings in the middle of the night. Yeah, right.
Wow. Thank you. Well, thank you for your group's offerings. I think this is very wise. I think there was a lot of wisdom shared here, I think. And yeah, it's interesting that you talk about communication and languages, because we see this immediately if we speak different languages. Like sometimes I cannot pronounce a word, or you know, because English is not my mother tongue, or you know, from different places people have a different relationship with the language and all that. But even when we do speak the same language, and I think this is also very important, how can we still create a safe space where everybody can raise their voice, even when we do speak all English or whatever? So yeah, I think communication, vocabulary, and the freedom of speech is a very important one. Yeah. So thank you very much, all of you. And I think this This is a beautiful example of what happens again if we get connected and get together again. And there are so many different ideas and so many different ways of connection happening in this just this whatever 1.5 hour that we're here together. And yeah, maybe it's good to reflect for yourself, like what's happening here for me? What does it do to me? What do I need? Where how can I create this in the future again? Like, who can I connect with, and how can I connect with people? So as you know, I'm very much into all this connecting stuff. Network yoga therapy is based on community and connections, and I find it a challenge these days to find the right connection, especially since Facebook is not the best place anymore, especially for speaking up and using your voice, because the algorithms are changing and everything changing so much. So I think it's wise to think outside of social media as well. Like, how can you connect? Like, for me, it's a way, like, I'm just sharing my phone number with everybody. It doesn't mean that everybody has to do that, but I see that people are not misusing it. And I do have a lot of really great, like, little pieces of communication going on with the network, and a little chat here and a little chat there, and it really makes my day. And when I'm on Facebook too often, it really ruins my day, to be honest, because it's frustrating like something else in many cases. So, and also for that reason, I created a network outside of Facebook, and I launched it this Thursday. So if you're interested to connect, and this is a free spot, it's something I created where we can meet, where we can share. There's no algorithms. The only thing we can do there is being very kind to each other. It's a safe space where there's zero tolerance for non-kindness. So if you are interested in that, just connect with me through well, I will share in the chat my email address, Anneke@networkyogatherapy.com, or +6 1878683. This is my phone number. So I'm WhatsApp. You can also find it, of course, in our bigger WhatsApp group. So just all kinds of attempts to keep the connections there, and from there just co-create. Having a good time together, share wisdom together, work together, the business of yoga therapy. There's so much going on, like what we discussed today. And I think being together as a network is very, very important, and very much fun as well. Knowing that you're not the only one, and there's always people waiting for you. If you are struggling in your whatever, building your business, working with a client, with a group, there's always people who went through the same thing or similar things you can connect with. So we're not alone. We are here together. And I hope that this meeting gave you a little bit of that feeling, although it was on Zoom and not in another beautiful city somewhere in the world. So I would like to conclude with that, and well, just thank you very much for being here. And well, I think it's just very beautiful. I will share the pictures that we made. Also the presentation I can share with Danilo. Maybe you can share it with everybody. Maybe it's nice to also see those pictures and the lists of things that we came up with. And let's weave this from Sendai to Amsterdam to the Zoom, and hopefully who knows where we meet next time, on Earth in person or online. But let's stay connected and weave everything together from here. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Anneke.
Thank you so much, Anneke. Thank you, everybody.
So,
I have to close this because I have a class in like 5 minutes.
OMG!
Our next session and closing session starts in 1 hour and 5 minutes. So I really hope everybody can attend. If you can't, thank you so much for being with us all this time and reconnecting. And we will definitely keep on doing our interactions through Zoom and building up our humanity and our yoga therapy work the closest ever, even through the website and through the clouds. Thank you. See you in 1 hour.
Thank you, Danilo. Thank you for
Thank you,
organizing
Danilo.
this.
Thank
You
you,
did a super great
Danilo.
job.
Thank you.
Bye, Rome.
Wonderful job.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.